Good morning, everybody out in streaming world. Hello to YouTube land, the Rumblers, and for our first time, we're debuting on Twitter/X for the first time. So good morning. I am Manila Chan. That over there is Ted Rall. I'm in the DC Metro. Ted is over in New York City. You are watching the Ted Manila Information Show, or TMI for short, where we actually do just bring you way too much information. We talk about anything from news to politics, lifestyle, fad diets today. We're actually going to do that one, Ted.
Yeah, that's true.
Fires, bird watching, shoe shopping, the taboo, anything goes on this show. So if you're new to us, we do shoe shopping. There's like shoe obsessions, right? Like so many.
I've been boot obsessed lately because of the weather. So,
well, that's fair. Anything and everything goes on this show because we believe you can never have too much information. If you are looking for that straight-laced, button-down show, this program is not going to be for you because I'm just going to warn you now. We do drop F-bombs. They fly. Other bad words. So if you're watching at your office or whatever and you like that kind of show, you should probably turn down the volume because I'm just going to, don't want to be responsible for you getting in trouble at work. It is all the stuff that you want to hear about, like the news and headlines, stuff like that. And then all this stuff that you never knew that you needed to know. But once you hear it, you're like, oh, I'm glad I learned that from Manila and Ted. And then, of course, we always laugh along the way. Ted and I are kind of cynical comedians in a way. We kind of laugh about, because what are you going to do? Right, Ted? What are you going to do? Like the world's burning up around us, literally, especially if you're from Los Angeles or in Los Angeles, literally burning up around you. What can you do at this point other than kind of laugh your way as the world goes, to hell in a handbasket. We are live, of course, Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern.
Why is it the handbasket that's taking us to hell? Can't we take a tram or something?
Oh,
yeah, or a tote bag, a PBS tote bag.
I was going to say an NPR tote bag because we all have one, right?
Well, you have one. I don't have one.
Really?
I've never donated at all, so I don't.
I have one. I have a New Yorker tote bag.
That's because you're a female. All females are required to have a New Yorker tote bag.
I have those.
That's issued to you at birth.
I think so.
Even if you transitioned, you would still have that tote bag.
I think that's true. I think so. The New Yorker finds a way to get it to you. We are live Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern. Make sure you guys please like and follow this show. Follow us if you are streaming us for our debut show here on the X platform. Please be sure to follow the show's Twitter, which our handle, I should know by heart, but I really don't. It's the TMI show is pretty much what we are.
It's TM Info Show on Twitter.
On Twitter at TM Info Show. Info Show.
Although if you just go there and you just search like TMI Show and either Manila or my name, or Ted and Manila, you're gonna find it.
It'll pop up.
Because we pushed down that, like, there was that. It's really annoying. There was some TMI show from years ago that put out, like, I don't know, 6 episodes or something, and then they died. But they were kind of cock blocking us on they really were on YouTube, and so fortunately, I think the algorithms have finally caught up and pushed the fuckers down. So
because we're on number 52
of shows.
So if those guys,
but we're the number 1 TMI show.
Woo! All right, that's a start. Okay, we are 2.5 months in. So you guys, if you are watching on YouTube and you haven't clicked the follow button or the subscribe button, rather, please go ahead and do that right now, so that way you can help us retain our number 1 TMI show spot. And of course, we're trying to get to our magic number so we can become monetized and actually start earning a living through
earning YouTube. Enough to purchase a deli coffee,
or even that. I mean, come on, help us out. It doesn't cost you anything by clicking the subscribe button. And of course, the Rumblers, that's kind of where the birth of the show happened, because like where would we be, Ted, with our, you know, our background in RT and Sputnik?
That's true.
Like, we are banished to Rumble so we can, you know, the Rumble chat room is hot. It's lit. It's like the fires in California right now. Hot.
But the fires in California someday will be put out. Can't say that about the Rumble feed.
We don't know. But yeah, that's who this show is. This intro is mostly for the new people trickling in on the X feed. So we are grateful that you guys are joining us. I'm sorry if there are any technical difficulties, because I am not like the maven of media and tech. Like I'm new at all of this, because most of you guys know I wish to live in analog world. I don't love social media. I don't love tech. I'd go back to a typewriter if I could, Ted. Like if I could find one that was like less than $1,000 of collectibles.
It was a better world. Oh, I have a beautiful typewriter. You can get a nice typewriter. The problem is getting it repaired and serviced.
Well,
in New York City,
and buying parts.
One dude who used to know how to repair typewriters, and he died. And it was for the typewriter aficionados of the city, it was a problem. You probably have to ship it somewhere to get it done now. Yeah, I bet there's some old dude in Virginia who knows how to do this.
Yeah, but it's just too cumbersome, and the price, everything's a collectible now. So but yeah, if there are tech issues, that's going to be on my end, because I'm the one that's clicking the buttons and putting the videos up, because I already own the accounts. So I should probably get better at those, Ted. But I do wish I was back in like the mid 80s in analog world. So here we are.
I'd go 90s, because a little bit of computer.
I can go to the 90s.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah, the electric typewriter there was good. I did like the advent of that.
Oh my God, I still miss my IBM Selectric. Do you know that was a $3,000 typewriter? People don't remember that.
Oh At the time, I had a brother. Remember those?
Brothers? Oh, I thought
the brand.
Oh yeah.
No, I do have a brother, but
I had a brother. I had a brother. Do you remember the hybrid typewriters? I had one of those where it was like it was just the beginning of computing. And so you could type basically on a little micro screen on the typewriter.
Oh, yes.
Like it had about 4 lines, a little square.
Yes.
You'd type that in there, and then you'd make sure it was okay. Then you'd hit a button, and it would go like a teletype machine. Like
yeah.
And then
I think that's what we had on the brother.
It was kind of revolutionary. Because because making mistakes on a typewriter is extremely unforgiving. When I was at Columbia, the professors had a rule, most of them who were hard asses, and they mostly were, that you couldn't, if you made a mistake, like they wouldn't accept a paper that had a correction on it. Like if you had whited out a word or a letter,
okay, yeah.
They would have to be, they'd be like,
I remember that.
They'd throw it back to you. It'd be like the type, it had to be
They want a clean page.
Perfectly. Yeah, no like little inserts, little pencil marks, nothing.
Yeah, I remember professors like that for sure. And producer Robbie says, a little housekeeping says, please let the viewers on YouTube and Rumble know that we'll be dropping 10 videos a week, 1 in the morning and some in the morning, some in the evenings. So it's going to be clips, I presume.
Yeah, these will be clips. Mm-hmm.
These will be clips. So, all right, that's who this show is. That's who we are. We've given you guys some time to trickle in, and I'm glad that you're here, because now we are going to go into the top news headlines of the day. And if you're new to the show, check this out. This is the Jaws.
As Manila mentioned, fast-moving fires are engulfing the Los Angeles area. Mandatory evacuations have been issued for at least 80,000 people. I know a few of them. The Palisades fire has already burned through almost 3,000 acres, while the Eaton fire has destroyed 1,000 acres. The Hearst fire has taken out 500 acres. So far, the blazes are not contained at all. 0% containment. The fires are spreading wildly, but fortunately, no deaths have been reported as of yet. Wow. These have been sparked by a phenomenon that West Coasters are familiar with, the Santa Ana winds. This is a combination of extremely dry conditions and those powerful winds, which are more powerful than usual. They're going to strengthen again today, and so this situation is very rough, and it's traditionally when these wildfires in the LA area have happened, they've been in less populous areas, like north of the city. But
and
now,
a different time of the year. See that little bushfire? Look, what they're just staring at it. It was just like, shouldn't you just go stamp that out? Because I feel like that little bushfire could turn into.
It's a good question. Well, things are. I mean, honestly, when you have an entire, I mean, it's heroic work that these guys do, and it's astonishing. But I mean, basically, now it's pressing into northern Santa Monica, which is heavily populated, and Malibu, which is, I would say, sort of middle populated. It's definitely dense. I mean, people live there, but it's not high density. It's not LA. But
Pepperdine University
it's right there.
Pepperdine University has officially closed its campuses. All classes are canceled because Pepperdine is right there, right along the coast. It's beautiful.
You see it from the Pacific Coast Highway.
Yeah. This is overnight. At first, it started out, yesterday I was like, 200 acres, nobody's freaking out. And literally overnight, it's just boomed into 3 ginormous fires, and it has moved quickly. And for those who are unfamiliar with me, I am a Los Angeles native. I've lived out here on the East Coast for just a little over 10 years, going on 11 at this point. So pretty much all of my friends and family are spread out in these fire zones.
And also, for people who haven't been through these fires, it's like, you have to understand, this is a really, it's hard to explain unless you've seen them up close or even from far away. I mean, you're talking about fires that can be hundreds of feet high, right?
Just crazy big.
Hundreds of feet high, and they can move like with breathtaking speed. And obviously, as someone
plumes of smoke that fills the sky,
issues, and everything's burning. The smells are atrocious, and it's not like you might think it's like, the smell of like burning campfire. It ain't, because it's like everything toxic is burning.
It's chemicals.
Wires are burning. Furniture is burning. Everything's plastic. It's like total like cancer on a stick.
I mean, it's raining down cancerous air on you. Again, being born and raised in Southern California, Santa Ana winds are really common, typically like when it's warm, right? And right now, this is January. This is 2025, January. You're supposed to have cool weather, cool-ish for California. We don't typically get Santa Ana winds, Ted, usually until like mid-summer, and everything's dry, and that's where we get the huge brush fires that happen across the hills every year. That's how it was. We would have days in elementary school, I remember, where we weren't allowed to play outside because in the spring warmer months, where the brush fires were so big that the air was too toxic for children to go play outside. So they'd usher us into the school gym and we'd have to play in there. But this is January. So this,
Can you imagine what it's going to be like this summer? I mean,
this is horrible. Ted, this is climate change.
My next
I'm just going to say it
is currently in the works. I finished it over the weekend. It's starting the editing process. Thank you. And I was working on, I have a chapter about the environmental disaster and crisis. And, I just basically, when you're researching it, you're like, oh my God, wait, there's this and there's that and there's this and there's that. This is just another example. You're like, oh, it's really, really bad. I don't know. I mean, I'm of a mind that really we have to start thinking about telling people they can't really live in certain places anymore. And I hate to say this, I think the Los Angeles metro area is one of them.
You kind of can't do away with it, Ted.
Well, they can move.
We have like 12 million people there.
Well,
where do we move our families to?
The Midwest. It's empty. Go to the Midwest.
Well, look, what we're looking at right now is like a live feed from Altadena, California, which is next to Pasadena, California. Mm-hmm. This is like off the 210 freeway. If anyone knows the area, of LA. Mm-hmm. I went to college in that area, so I know it very well. It's a beautiful hilly part of town, and this is going to be fast moving because it's dry brush in the hills. And again, anyone that knows me knows that my hair is not on fire about climate change, but I'm not a denier either. I know it exists. It exists. I know it exists, but I also know that the green movement is a scam. So there's that.
Wait. So
And
you mean the green energy movement, or
the whole
green movement
like,
is just
industry.
basically saying the planet matters, which the planet does matter because it's where we live.
The green business sector.
Oh, I agree with that. Mostly
that's a total
not 100%, just 99%.
Most of it,
but
total scam.
No, that's true.
Most of it. That's where I kind of straddle in between, where I'm like, well, I do the best I can, even though I know, but this right here is evidence of climate change. Take it from a native Californian. We traditionally do not have this kind of fire going on in January.
No,
so
I know. People
are getting canceled, by the way. Their homeowners, or excuse me, their fire insurance for the people that live out there. I'm getting reports from people on the ground, neighbors or what have you. Thankfully, not yet people I know directly, but I'm hearing reports that suspiciously people that have live in the hills out here, like in Altadena, Pasadena, getting their insurance canceled. Like a week
insurance companies, that's their model, as we know from
fires.
Luigi, right? I mean, it's like the model is we collect the premiums, we never pay out on claims. That's how we make money.
This is terrible news that there's like I've heard
Californians have already been having a hard time getting homeowners insurance. I mean, don't forget, California is a hellhole, right? I mean, it's like between the race riots, the mudslides, the forest fires, which, by the way, the forest fires set the stage for more mudslides. Because it will rain at some point. It's like the tsunamis. I mean, God does not want people in California.
The homelessness, the drugs, this is the man-made stuff, right? And then you have like the natural disasters like earthquakes.
Right. Oh, yeah. Don't forget the earthquakes.
We're waiting for the big one. We're waiting for the big one.
And by the way, climate change makes the earthquakes going to be more serious and more likely. People don't think about that. I mean, fascinating little factoid that, it's just these little things people don't think about. Like one of the reasons that the oceans, everyone thinks that the oceans are rising. I didn't realize this maybe everyone else did. I'm the idiot. But over the weekend, I was reading about this. It's like, well, I just assumed it's all just melting ice caps and glaciers are causing the ocean. So that's true. But that's not the number one cause. The number one cause is because the planet in the aggregate is so much warmer, the water molecules are expanding.
Oh.
So the volume of the oceans has increased.
That's like fat cells, which we're going to talk about later.
We are going to talk about fat cells. All right.
Fat cells can shrink. They never really go away. They shrink or expand. So.
All right. Well, I don't know about that, but you'll
inform us. I come from the plastic surgery capital of the country,
yes,
right?
You do.
So
which is being burned up right now, even as we speak. But all right.
And God is going to break California off of the United States map through the San Andreas Fault. It's just going to crack it all the way down and just throw it into the ocean. And then only the eastern
live there. They should not be allowed to live there.
Parts are going to remain. So
people should not be. They shouldn't be allowed to live in New Mexico or in Arizona either. Because
give it back to Mexico. Is that the plan?
No, it's just like leave it to the scorpions. It's like there's no water to give. I mean, we don't have water for these people.
That's why that's probably why the firemen aren't hosing it down, because they're like, well, do we have enough water pressure coming from this
part
hose?
of the problem with fires is they fuck up the water mains too. All right, anyway, let's keep moving. Yeah. An appeals court here in New York City has rejected Trump's attempt to stop proceedings in his business records case. He's scheduled to be sentenced on January 10th, 2 days from now, 10 days before his inauguration. After consideration of the papers submitted and the extensive oral argument, Movement's application for interim stay is denied. A brief order from Justice Ellen Gessmer of the Appellate Division, 1st Judicial Department said Trump's attorneys were arguing that Trump's pursuit of an appeal meant that proceedings should be automatically stayed. Trump's emergency filing was filed just 2 weeks before his inauguration, of course, as I sort of just said, and follows his dismissal of those 2 federal cases against him. One of those cases was in Florida, where Judge Eileen Cannon issued an order on January 7th, that's yesterday, halting the release of a final report from the special counsel's office. Not to worry, it'll be leaked. Outside of those cases, the criminal case against Trump in Georgia also hit a roadblock when the Court of Appeals in that state ruled last month that the lower court had failed to properly disqualify the most excellent prosecutor in the country, Fani Willis, person with nothing but grace, class, dignity, and decorum.
Great. I mean, she drinks Grey Goose, Ted.
A man is not a plan, Manila.
Remember she said that? That's my dad. Great. She drinks Grey Goose. She's a quality lady, Ted.
Hey, that's French vodka.
It's good. It's good vodka. It's good vodka.
It's
pretty good.
Well, she can afford it with all the money she was getting from her funneling through her boyfriend.
Well, yeah. I mean, she's hooking that dude up, to work on the case, right?
By the way, in 99% of these cases where it's like there's the high profile romance and then like they break up, it's happening on the DL still. Don't be surprised if when the dust settles, she's like marries Nathan Wade. Don't be surprised. It's like, it's like, oh, we gotta lie low. Like they're up our ass.
Wait, I thought the guy was married. The guy that she was having.
No, he was going through a divorce. He was legally married. Yeah, he was separated.
Okay.
They can get married.
I mean, sure.
People,
okay.
They can. So I even heard a very credible remark. I can't say who, but I believe it to be true. That as late as 2001, Monica Lewinsky was making her way up to Chappaqua for, special meetings with the Billster. So true love never dies.
Okay, we can call it that. That's fine.
The dozens of nations sending military aid to Ukraine, because obviously their own countries don't need any money, and
we don't need more money.
All of their problems are all solved. Will attempt to map a way out to sustain the war-torn country's defensive efforts through, wait for it, 2027. That, according to a senior U.S. defense official, ahead of Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin's last meeting with the group. At Thursday's planned meeting of the Ukraine Defense Contact Group, that's going to take place in Germany at Ramstein Air Base, the leaders of the group's 8 capability coalitions, you got to love the military, will need to endorse roadmaps that articulate Ukraine's Air Force armor, artillery, demining, drone, integrated air and missile defense, information technology, and maritime security needs and objectives through 2027. Okay, some people are seriously high over there. Just saying. Reminds me of, I collect a lot of things. People know I collect political ephemera. I also collect paper money. One of my favorite things is the 1992 Soviet ruble. The Soviet Union went out of business in 1991, but they were printing the rubles for the following year. So it's kind of like best laid plans of mice and men, but I don't think Ukraine is still going to be in the mix in 2027. Anyway, these roadmaps are intended to enable donors to plan and support Ukraine sustainably into the future, the official told reporters, while smoking weed. As well,
or sniffing other things.
Maybe their own butthole. As well, you will hear a very substantial announcement of another tranche of U.S. military arms and gears to be donated via presidential drawdown authority, he said. Still, more than a couple $2 billion of approved presidential drawdown authority will remain for Trump's national security team to distribute as they see fit. Meanwhile, the same person said, the U.S. Transportation Command, I never even heard of that, is in a surge operation to get promised aid to Kyiv in the coming days and weeks. So, let's not waste a chance to waste more money.
Well, Ted, this is basically a surprise going away party for Lloyd Austin. You can't let the man go without getting all of his buddies together from Europe that have been in this money scam with him the last couple of years. So he's gone to Europe for his going away party. You see him right there getting off that military plane. Trying to act all dignified or whatever.
Do you think his balls are fixed now, or what do you think is going on there?
No, he had a second bout with, was it testicular cancer? Was that?
Prostate.
Prostate cancer. Mm-hmm. Oh, I thought he was Lance Armstronging it. Maybe not. So you see him going
Lloyd
there.
Austin doesn't look like a man who spends a lot of time on a bicycle seat, just saying.
No, but, he's in the boardroom a lot at Raytheon. He's got buddies.
Sure.
it's true. That's where he came from. That's where Joe Biden found him. So he's got deals to make, Ted, through 2027 before he goes back to probably the board of Raytheon. That is,
Probably.
I mean, really, unless I'm confusing it with Boeing, but I am fairly sure he came from Raytheon, if memory serves. But that's what he's trying to do here at his farewell party. And you know, these morons that are also selling out their own European countries, wherever it is, you know, respectively where they're from, they're really just giving away whatever to the defense industries, because there are major defense contractors outside of the US that are not Boeing, that are not Raytheon, like Bay Systems, that is a UK company. They have a lot of vested interest in this. So of course the government needs to launder the money through now. So I don't know what happens to the UK, or excuse me, the Europeans' money, how that works. But because we're getting a new president in less than 2 weeks, we have to keep that tranche of money goes in a pot. So basically, Trump can come in, theoretically, come in and say, oh, good, that money is still there. I'm going to reappropriate it to ABC, right? To something else. I don't know how that works in Europe, but Trump has been signaling that he's ready to end this thing ASAP, and that he is not thrilled with Zelensky. We've seen Zelensky come to kiss the ring very recently this fall. And Trump, for whatever reason, has been very, I don't know, very cordial to him, I guess is the best way to say it. But I think, you know, this dude's also on his farewell tour, because I think he knows the jig is up. The money's going to dry up, especially because the U.S. is sending the lion's share of the money and the arms. So this dude right here knows the jig is up. He's going on every podcast he can find. He's going on every TV show that'll have him to bloviate and ask for more money, because it's drying up, dude. Unlike his we'll call it post-nasal drip, Ted, while he was on Lex Friedman's podcast. We'll call it that. We'll call it allergies.
Okay, we will call it that. A winter storm is about to pummel the state of Texas, as well as the rest of the United States South later this week, putting the region at risk of blackouts and mayhem of travel. The predicted snowfall, 4 to 6 inches, is likely to trigger widespread power outages, snarl transportation, and ground or delay airline traffic, while temperatures won't approach the extreme lows seen back during that February 2021 storm that killed over 200 people and left millions of people without power for days. Any recurrence of cold raises concern about the stability of the state's traditionally fragile power grid, because it's not like Texas is a major energy producing state or anything. Texas faces another challenge. Elon Musk's massive lithium refinery, located 20 miles outside of Corpus Christi along the Gulf Coast. Musk is nearly done building a lithium refinery that could require as much as 8 million gallons of water a day. The factory a day, where Tesla,
because Texas has tons of that, and the Colorado River, no one's fighting over rights to that water, Ted. Nobody.
That's a good point. Well, there's that's a good point. The factory where Tesla wants to start production this year is part of a broader effort by Musk to ease bottlenecks and build a more robust domestic supply chain of the critical raw material lithium. It also has set off alarm bells among some in the small Texas town who are worried themselves about having enough water for them to drink, let alone help supply a big factory. Well, that is a concern.
And having been a local news anchor in Arizona, I became very aware of indigenous people's lands not getting appropriated the amount of natural resources, we'll say, that they need. And then in comes, you know, across the Southwest here, right? This is the case for all the Native American tribes. And then in comes Tesla. We're looking at there. I mean, he moves, you know, all his stuff there. Elon's moving everything to Texas. But now he's going to put these greater demands on the local power grid, on the local water systems.
Man, these tech guys, they're crazy about their power use. I mean, like the crypto shit, how it eats up power.
I got to wonder, Ted, Who do you think's going to win this fight over resources in Texas? Elon Musk or the native tribes?
Oh,
I wonder.
holding breath.
I totally wonder. I can't even predict who's going to win that fight.
Well, the awesome power of the native tribes is, Elon Musk. Anyway.
Like, so,
so depressing.
there you go. It is a very sad story, and people are going to wonder why we're talking about Texas in particular. It's because Elon Musk and water rights and the electrical grid. Texas, do you know, Ted, Texas has its own grid, and it's off kind of like the federal main grid.
Yep.
And that's
the
reason.
Yeah,
that's what we're like,
and it's all been privatized,
guys.
right? It was kind of like what was that company that back in 08, 09? Oh my God, why am I losing my mind? That the one that went bankrupt, and Enron. It's like an Enron type situation that happened there to the Texas energy grid.
Such a scam.
I mean, there was plenty of energy, really, but all right. And finally, Getty Images has agreed to acquire Shutterstock. That's a deal that would create a combined company worth about $3.7 billion, including the debt. The union brings together two of the biggest providers of licensed visual content in the United States, just as AI upends the content creation market and mobile phone cameras dilute the value of stock photos. Just for people who don't know who these people are, Getty Images is a storied old photo agency that, if you look at all those classic Life magazine images, like Frank Capra and all those things, Capra. All those classic photos are Getty Images photographers. There's others as well, but they were the big mama of them all. Shutterstock is a much more recent thing,
right,
where it was more like for stock photography. Like if you look online and you do a Google image search for, say, cat, like most of those pictures will be Shutterstock photos where they just hired people for 1 cent each to take pictures of cats. So anyway, these are coming together. This probably between the two of them, probably the 90% of the or more of the entire market. Getty is going to pay $331 million in cash, plus transfer $319 million of its own shares over to Shutterstock. Craig Peters, who's the CEO of Getty, will serve in the same role for the combined entity. I mean, it strikes me that there's obviously an antitrust issue.
I was just going to bring that up. Like, why? You can't let Getty own everything. You just, that's not fair to us, the consumer.
Obviously, they waited for Biden to be on the way out. They figured that the corporate consolidation, monopolization atmosphere would be friendlier to these big corporations under President Trump, and they're probably not wrong. This is, the U.S. Steel Nippon merger might have gone through if they just waited a couple of years, but during the middle of an election year, that was a really stupid move, and even Trump had to pretend to be against it. But now, the Getty made a smart move, but it's definitely it's anti-competitive for sure. It's bad for consumers
for sure. And Ted, you got to think also with the emergence of all these content creators online, like where they start, where they get their images from is now like severely hampered and limited by this, because Getty is expensive as hell. So expensive.
It's unaffordable.
So it's not affordable to a small content creator. And now that they're purchasing Shutterstock, I mean, Shutterstock was like affordable to like indie, maybe India too, indie media that, like people that own small publications or what have you, or, small websites. We could afford, like I own one, we can afford to pay a small monthly due to Shutterstock. Now that this is happening, I don't think so. I don't
and the worst part is what's happened to photographers is exactly what's happened to other content creators like musicians, where the companies make all the money, right? Like Spotify makes all the money, but I remember being blown away when I read about the guy who did Gangnam Style. Big hit, right?
Oh,
it had,
right.
Over 1 billion views on YouTube.
Psy, Gangnam Style.
Psy, that's right, Gangnam Style. And he and they revealed that he only had made like $100,000 or something like
You're
that from
kidding.
Spotify. Now, if you can imagine,
Wow.
if you'd had like, let's say, so he had 1 billion views, right? If you'd had 1 million spins on the radio, 1 million,
Right.
that's 1,000th as many. You'd be, you'd have tens of millions of dollars,
Yes.
all your friends would be hanging out. Your cocaine's on you for everybody, right?
That's
Like,
right. At the
it's like
table.
that's just not the case anymore. And these, I mean, honestly, you might hear all this and be like, "Oh, the photographers are going to be making bank." No, the photographers have been destroyed. I mean,
No.
the photographers are completely decimated. You can't make any money doing photography. It's pennies on pennies on pennies. And and what's happening is we're going to know the difference in like say 20 years when there's no professional photographers left. There basically aren't now, but they're all on the way out. They're extinct. It's like it's like editorial cartooning. I mean, it's like any content creator.
Look at this image behind Mr. Peters, the will be combined CEO.
Mm-hmm.
He's talking with this guy from Vox Media or whatever, and they're showing. It says generated with AI, but like, if that's the case, like, why is this a big deal for them if the general public can generate images like that?
Well, okay,
with
so here's
AI.
the thing, right? I mean,
why do they care about this?
The conundrum is like we've always had this question, right? I mean, the question is it's always between quality and price, right? So
Sure.
what's pretty obviously illuminated manuscripts are of a higher quality than mass-produced books, let's say.
Okay.
But obviously illuminated manuscripts are not a thing because they're too expensive. So basically good enough and cheap always beats beautiful and expensive. So except for a rarefied market, right? Some people have leather bound books, but that's like, a few hundred people can collect those and everybody else doesn't. So it's like the same thing in photography. You're going to be able to tell, you can tell the difference. I mean, obviously anyone with eyes can tell the difference between, a real photographer with training and talent and skill versus like an AI, right? I mean, there's
and
no
it doesn't
comparison.
hit the same. It's not.
It's not the same. It's not the fucking same. But
when you're looking at like
matter because it's going to
like
be
look.
The only way
That's an AI image.
Well, you can tell it's going to. Of course, AI will get better, but still, it's going to be. You're always going to be able to tell the difference. But most people aren't going to care. That's just sort of the nature of things.
Is that what you think it is? Like
so, unfortunately, the only way you could, if we decided as a society that we wanted to save high quality professional photography, as an example, they'd have to be protected. So in countries that have these values, they protect them like for example, in France, Amazon is not allowed to offer books at a discount to what you could buy them at a bookstore. So if a book is $40 at the bookstore, it's $40 on Amazon plus the shipping fee. So
so the going rate, the market rate is the market rate.
So there's no undercutting of bricks and mortar, right? So and bricks and mortar provides you with serendipity. You can walk into a store and just discover something and feel it and touch it and check it out, and it's in your hot little hands right away. That's different. So like in France and Italy, countries like that, they protect small farmers. The government subsidizes them because it's an important part of their national culture. Even people who live in big cities like Paris and Rome, they think it's important for there to be tons of small farming. It's like not France unless there's lots of small farms. So people feel attached to that. So the government pays for it. If we care, I mean, in this country, we mainly seem to care about protecting the military, weapons manufacturing. Those are where
big
our
business.
National values are. Yeah, and that's what we're spending money on. But if we wanted to spend money on, say, the art, like Canada spends a lot of money to support film. A lot of American films that you see are made in Canada because the Canadian government supports and subsidizes the film industry, even American filmmakers who go up there to make movies, because film is important to Canadian culture. It's like that. We've decided we don't care about the quality of photography or journalism or cartooning or anything. We
ain't that the truth?
We just don't fucking care.
We really don't. And without consumer pushback, Ted, we're going to let big business rule the roost as
well,
we've been doing.
There will be no consumer. I mean, the consumers don't even know that Getty Images exists, right? I mean, the consumers just see and when everybody's taking photos on their phones, everyone's like, well, what's the difference? I mean, well, there's a fucking difference. It's sort of like,
just compare, just look.
It's the difference, but it's kind of like how most Americans, 99% of them, are buying their clothes at the Gap, right? As opposed to going to, like a bespoke, high-end designer, because it's so fucking expensive. They're just not going to afford that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they don't even know that it exists anyway, because
Ted,
it's not even in their town, right? Even the rich people in Dayton don't have a place to go like that because those stores don't exist there.
And Ted, that's also applicable to our main topic that we're going to get to, is the same thing about our food supply. Like, fast and cheap and filling, and that's how we consume everything on the internet. That's how we consume our actual food. That's it. And it's because it's cheap and cheerful, as my old editor used to say. But R.I.P. To him, Miss Phil. But geez, this is like just emblematic of everything that's happening in I would say in most Western cultures, but it doesn't sound like it's totally applicable, like in France, a place that cares about like good food and nutrition. But so not everything is cheap and cheerful, and not everything is fast in France. Haven't been in many years.
Although there's been this move afoot. I mean, it's what the French call l'américanisation, the Americanization of France.
We got Krispy Kreme there.
The 3-hour lunch is pretty much extinct. Bakeries, the traditional, like, every morning you would bicycle over with your cat,
you go to the
cat in your basket over to get the baguette. Like, those in a lot of French towns, the bakery cannot make it anymore. I saw these weird things, like there's like to substitute now. There's places that like make you'll go to a kiosk where there's like baguettes, the fresh baguettes in the kiosk, and you put in a credit card, and then you can pull up the baguette out of there. And so like that way, like one bakery can serve like a big area, and they run around and but it's not the same thing as saying hi to your baker and stuff like that. So, I mean, also, like, most Frenchmen now are going to like the hypermarché, right? The supermarket to shop for groceries. It used to be like, when I was a kid in France, you went to the baker. Yes. You went to, the butcher. You went to, went to each individual spot to get your stuff. And it, like, everything was bespoke, special, and it was better. I mean, is a French hypermarché better than an American version? Yes. But
probably,
that's because of the food regulations, which we're going to get into right now.
Yeah, we're going to get into, but this whole AI consumption that we're literally just talking about is, like I said, emblematic of everything that's wrong in American culture, and we want something else to do it for us. We want somebody else to make our food. We want somebody, and then we'll deal with the fallout later, Ted. So, all right, with that, let's get to our main topic. Time to cue the jaws again. This is my favorite video every day, guys. I call it looks like a digital Jaws, like. Whoop.
Well, I like the creakiness is what really makes me laugh, cracks me up.
That's my favorite sound.
Yeah, it's like the sound. I'm very oral. All right, so let's move on here. All right, so what is our topic? Our topic is, as previously advertised, Americans have always had a love-hate relationship with food. We eat too much, and we don't really eat the best food. I would argue that second part is the more important part. As high as 75% of Americans are considered obese. Yet our popular culture lionizes models and actors so painfully thin that many of them actually suffer from anorexia. The latest attempt by the body positivity movement to fight fat shaming comes in the form of online Fat-Fluencers, one of whom has been hired by the city of San Francisco as its official weight stigma czar. Meanwhile, Health and Human Services nominee RFK Jr. is going after big food on the grounds that they're inhibiting his drive to make America healthy again, which is a Trump initiative. We will see how far that goes. Let's investigate these latest developments in our national food fight.
That's great. It is a national food fight, Ted, and this is something a topic I love personally. Like my mom had a small family restaurant. She was a chef and all that stuff. So I'm a foodie, but I'm certainly no like expert in this field, Ted. And I will say, being a Californian and whatever, you are kind of programmed as a California girl, right? You're programmed from a very young age to like your lead up said, to lionize, like in my era, Kate Moss, right? And fortunate or unfortunate, whatever, however you want to look at it, I that was mostly what I looked like by way of nature, not because I, like did anything to try to look that skinny, in the early 90s. That's just that's just my genetics, right? And so I guess in the 90s, it was fortunate for me that that was the genetic code. My body was programmed to look like that. And I just kind of look like that. And I actually envied girls that looked like Anna Nicole Smith, right? Like curvy, like I had no curves. So I envied the other girls that did have, those curves and volume in their hair. And, I had the stick straight hair. Sure, I had that waif look going on, and other people probably envied me for that. But being a California girl, you were always very aware of what was, considered attractive, what was considered healthy. And I understand, as an adult, how unhealthy that can also be if people take these extreme measures to try to look like, me or Kate Moss, like being super skinny. But on the other side of this, we've swung the pendulum completely in the other direction, Ted. And food, as we know, as we were just talking about moments ago, the quality of food has gotten worse. It doesn't matter where you live. The quality of food writ large has gotten worse. We're full of hormones. We're full of antibiotics. Every packet of food you pick up, I don't care if it says organic and grass-fed. Because of how the USDA allows these factory farms to classify things as grass-fed, or how they classify organic or whatever, you're being deceived. And this Washington Post article, here's the scary part about how all of this ties right into social media and how they're influencing young girls primarily, and guys too. I don't want to leave guys out. Men care about their weight too, right? This is the time of the year, January. Everybody's got their diets going on, or whatever it may be, whether their goals are to be thinner or whatever. You got the Ozempic issue on the other hand. But the Washington Post, I actually liked an article and agreed with their article. And this is from last year. It kind of just went under the rug because MAHA wasn't a thing. I don't think RFK had abandoned his presidential aspirations yet last April. I don't think so, right? Did he? I don't remember.
I don't remember. It was a long year.
It was 2024 was a fucked up year for many reasons. So everything's kind of smushed together. But anyway, WAPO put this out in April of 2024, and it says, as obesity rises, big food and dietitians push the anti-diet advice. General Mills warns of food shaming. Dietitian influencers promote junk food and discourage weight loss efforts. So this is not to fat shame anybody or whatever, but I realize, I get it, that most women's bodies in the US are not genetically programmed to be a size 2, right? Like I get that. But the fact is,
I think seriously, most people are, including most Americans, are actually genetically programmed to be maybe even a size 0. But our genetic programming has been hijacked by
there's that too.
by all the crap in our food. most people I know who are overweight or think they're overweight don't eat much.
Yes.
And most of the people I know who eat a lot are skinny. So it's like the point is there's no relationship really. I mean, the whole the cliche is you look at someone who's fat, and you're like, that person's a pig. They eat a lot. No, It's not true. It's probably almost never true. It's true sometimes, exceptionally, but mostly it's not true at all. It's the garbage in our food. I mean, I'm kind of like average by American standards. I'm fat by international standards. And you can really see, we talked about the Americanization of France. Well, I mean, the French, they were all skinny people when I was a kid. Everybody, they're like, it's like now, there's a lot of moobs out there. There's a lot of, a lot of guys are, kind of like look pregnant. I mean, it's like, and why? It's because of the Americanization of the food supply.
Belly bloat. That's belly bloat and gut. Instead of, getting you kind of thick, it's a different look.
It's better than, it's not as bad as ours. They still have better regulations than we do. Not ideal, but better. But there's still, McDonald's is there. It's like, and so it's like people are, it's influential. It's the crap in the food. I mean, this is why I'm very excited about RFK Jr. I hope he gets confirmed. I don't think he will. I want him to.
I heard he's got the votes.
Oh, great. Well, I mean, I hope he gets confirmed. I hope
Friday night that he had the votes.
I hope Trump supports him, and I hope he gets some shit through Congress. I want to see aggressive control of all these preservatives and chemicals in our food without doing anything. Americans are going to start losing weight, peeling off the pounds. And it's like, and when you travel to other countries, I don't care where you go to Laos, you go to Uzbekistan, you go to France, you're, as an American, and you don't pay any attention to anything.
Go to the Caribbean.
You're going to lose weight. Yeah, Caribbean, with like deep fried, English influenced food, like fried conch and all that. You will definitely not gain weight. You probably will, if you're there for a few weeks, enough time for it to, you're going to lose weight. Even if you're drinking, I mean, it doesn't make any difference. So this is like, I think it's important to understand, this is from the top. Our country is all about shaming individual behavior. Like, this is your fault. If the parents did this, if you ate less, or if you. But like, the truth is, it's like, don't recycle. Like what we need is government regulation to control industry so that we don't have to recycle and that we don't have to be counting our calories. I mean, this is what the government is for, and they're not doing their fucking job, and they're trying to make us do their job.
We know the food pyramid is fucked up and totally bought out by companies like General Mills right here, right? Like in the 1950s when that came out. It was bought out. That's when our food system kind of got sold out to industry. After World War II. Yeah, in the late 50s, it was a slow creep. First, it started out with the food pyramid because anybody that's alive now that is easily watching this stream,
and they had all survived the Depression, so they were just happy to be eating.
That's true. But like anyone in our age group, Ted, like Gen X and beyond, we all grew up on that food pyramid where they told us the base of the food should be carbs.
Right.
And the slow creep.
Some carbs are not bad.
No, I'm not dissing carbs. Let me get there. The carbs, so that's fine. Like for me, some bodies are genetically programmed to better metabolize carbs. Like for me, example, carbs don't really do anything to me. Like it's fine. Whereas my husband, carbs are his enemy, right? But the problem is, once big food slowly started, it was a slow creep. It wasn't until about the 70s and 80s when big tobacco bought out companies, like big food companies like Kraft or whatever, because Philip Morris owns like all these big food manufacturers. So we have the pre-established food pyramid, right, for about 20 or 30 years, because they were already big food was donating money to the federal government to say, yeah, grain and carbs are the base of the American diet, and children should be eating like this. But that was about it. That was the extent. It started getting nefarious in the 70s and 80s when, certain companies bought certain other companies and hid behind brands, and then started lobbying Ted, and then started paying for studies at, the FDA, the USDA. And then they started also putting out monocrops and chemical crops all over, from Monsanto and Bayer, all these pesticides. So it's been a slow creep for the past 60 years, where they own everything that, like General Mills, we're looking here at the Washington Post, like, do you think that their cereal, their oats, are not coming from monocropping wheat with like glyphosate and whatever, God knows what other chemicals they're spraying on the fields? Like, that's how this starts, and we're eating that. That is our cereal, that we're feeding our kids, that the food pyramid that's been drilled into everybody's heads for the past 70, 60 years. That's what we're feeding our children. And then we wonder why our children are obese kindergarteners. Like, that should not be happening. This is not normal to have. I see my son's school and I'm just like, what? Like,
Yeah. And anybody who doesn't believe us, by the way, take weight out of it, right? Like, consider the fact that like girls are getting puberty at like not 13 or 12, at 9, 10 years old, even 8 years old. Why? Right? I mean, it's because of bovine growth hormone. It's in the food supply.
Yes.
It's triggering early puberty, right? I mean,
Yes.
it's fucking us up. So there needs to be a comprehensive look at the food supply. I would say, like, I mean, Americans are already deeply concerned about grocery prices. Maybe, look, if we give people tax deductions for home mortgage interest, maybe we can give people tax deductions for food purchases. Like, why not? Do something to subsidize food so that it's more affordable for Americans, especially as we transition to healthier food. Healthier food is going to have fewer economies of scale. It's going to be more expensive. Food is going to get more expensive anyway due to climate change. So this is something the government never does, but get ahead of the problem and start
Ted,
paying for it.
Big food. I'm not trying to zero in on only General Mills or whatever. I'm talking about all the big brands here in the U.S. Like Coca-Cola. How does Coca-Cola get itself subsidized by our food stamp system? You can buy Coca-Cola.
Yeah,
like it's in there. They get subsidies.
I was a cashier at my local supermarket, Freedom Foods in Kettering, Ohio, and a bag boy.
Is that the grocery store, Freedom Foods?
It was closed down. Now it's a Kroger. So it's so free. So yeah, I remember. And so yeah, we took food stamps all the time now. And yeah, I remember, like, most people who bought food stamps bought very unhealthy food with the food stamps, like sort of like the bug juice kind of kind of sodas and stuff like that. Really crappy foods. And
the off-brand.
I was really surprised that was allowed, and it still is.
Well, because Coca-Cola has basically donated millions and millions of dollars into the USDA and has funded all kinds of research. So, like, again, I'm looking at our chat in the Rumble room. Everybody has to eat. So this is a universal topic. The Rumble room is getting hot about all of this. And it's this conversation, Ted, is less about body size and more about health. And that's what the thing
the body
is.
Size is not the issue.
No, it is not the issue at all. Like,
or it is, but it shouldn't be. Let's put it that way.
Well, it's tangentially related, but generally speaking, to Mr. Lee's point here in the chat, not all thin people that look like me are healthy, and not all healthy people are necessarily fit, and not all fat people are not healthy. And again,
on average, though, it is better.
On average,
average, it's better not to carry too much weight. I mean, it even fucks up your feet and stuff like that. I mean, it's hard.
There's gout,
your
and
knees hurt more, and I know that personally when I
know that from being
I'm
pregnant
heavier right now than I want to be, and I feel like it hurts my feet and stuff. But let's talk about fat. Well, I mean, right now there's been a lot of sort of heat on the idea of the war against fat shaming, right? Like the
Well,
Fat-Fluencers, these other
yes,
people, the body
but let me
positive
let me
people,
read
like
this
the
excerpt
remember the
here.
Dove commercials,
Yes,
where it's kind of like saying, is it negative to tell people? Is it a bad influence to tell the public
but
it's okay to be overweight? I mean,
here's the nefarious part, Ted. Like in this Washington Post article from April of 2024, it says right here, the Post analyzed more than 6,000 social media posts by 68 registered dietitians. These are, people with degrees in that field and are professionals. 68 registered dietitians with at least 10,000 followers. The analysis showed that roughly 40% of these influencers with a combined reach of more than 9 million followers repeatedly used anti-diet language, and this is the language.
yeah, but be more specific here. I mean, because like a lot of diets are not good for you, and like going on and off weird diets,
That's
a lot of
fair.
them don't work. A lot of them are
That's fair.
unhealthy. So there's like being anti. When people say like, "Oh, someone's anti-vaccine," it's like, well, what do you mean by that? Are they against vaccines on principle? Are they against certain vaccines? Are they just questioning the idea that vaccines are always healthy? That's a big statement, right? Like when you say anti-diet, I mean, I'm anti some diets. I mean,
Oh, I am too. I think
I
a
think
lot of
diets are kind of stupid, really. I mean, I
and
think it's.
and
I
Ted,
mean,
we got to mention the Ozempic, the whole Ozempic
oh God,
phenomenon that even
yeah,
Elon is doing. But like that's what blows my mind is like, even if you are a heavier person,
mm,
or and let's be real, most of the people that are using this are like they're not obese people. They've just
that's
got a
true.
little
The
extra
people
weight.
I know who use it are not obese at all.
Right.
They're just a
So
little overweight.
here's what blows my mind is the people that are slightly overweight that are doing this,
I was
that do not
tempted.
have
I'm slightly overweight.
that do not have diabetes, which is what this kind of stuff is intended for, that they would choose to become from there on a lifetime user of big pharma meds that are not medically necessary for them. That's because it's not.
Lifetime is the key word there, Manila. I'm glad you
become
brought
a
up
lifetime. You become
lifetime.
a lifetime fucking user.
When I heard
Once
about
you get off
Ozempic,
Ozempic, the
when I
weight
heard,
comes
yeah,
right back.
exactly. That's why I never tried it. When I did my dive, and it's like, oh yeah, well, you just have to keep using it. I'm like, what?
Yes.
Why would I do that? Like,
That's
fuck
customer for life. That's a customer for life.
That's
why?
ridiculous.
If you are
And it's
otherwise
got to be
a
bad for you to do
yeah,
anything that long.
you're a fairly healthy person otherwise, right?
And
Other
remember
than not
fen-phen? I
being happy
don't
with,
trust this shit.
yeah,
Like
well,
it's one thing to be like
fen-phen.
take a drug for. I'd be like, honestly, I feel like if you want to take something sketchy for 6 months and then to quit, whatever. But if
Right,
you for anything
get
to
into
do
that
for
dress.
life, yeah, that's bad.
It's one thing to do, like you said, to do whatever you got to do to fit into that prom dress or wedding dress or whatever. I get it if you do that, but literally with this stuff, that these injectables that were intended for people with a chronic disease like diabetes, which is mostly food related if we really boil it down.
That's true.
The toxic shit in Americans' foods. But this little shot that you take, you really have to, like, why would you choose, if you're otherwise healthy, choose to sign up to be a consumer of this concoction?
I would say, like, look, if you're in trouble, right? Like if you're like 350 pounds, then really, truly, you got to think about something like Ozempic, right? You really do. If you're really like, because you're in danger of dying really early. But like, for normal, like Donald Trump overweight kind of guy, right? Like 260, 6'2", 260, 270. That guy, he doesn't need it. He lay off the burgers, hit the gym at Mar-a-Lago. And,
I would love to see RFK take on his first MAHA case and have that be POTUS himself when it happens, right? To be like, we know you love McDonald's, but do you know what's in
stomach
your
stapling's
McDonald's?
Better. Gastric bypass is better than Ozempic.
I know people that have done that, and it doesn't
always work.
Them. It doesn't always work, or even people with the ring or whatever it's called on their inside their But
I
anyway,
I had a girlfriend, she did that, and then she
oh my
lost some
God.
weight, and then she's like, she dumped me. She said, "Well, now that I'm thin, I can do better than you."
There's a Seinfeld episode for that. George thought he was too good for a girl that had this big honking nose.
Oh yeah.
You remember that episode? And then she gets a nose job and she's like way too hot for him.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's just like, huh? Like that's
Yep.
basically, that's kind of that reminds me of that. But like, so what we're looking at on screen, Ted, is one of those body positivity experts. And I love how we just like propel people, like we just pick them out of obscurity. Like not we, but mainstream media picks people out of fucking obscurity of who, God knows what, where.
Well, everyone's picked out of obscurity. I mean, I'm picked out of obscurity.
The San Francisco Department of Health picked this woman out of fucking obscurity to now represent their.
Do we know anything about her qualifications or her past or anything?
She has like a master's. I looked into her when I first heard about her when she got this job in the fall, because obviously she's a Californian, and I still read a lot of California news, and I was shocked that this woman has like a master's degree in I don't know, her whatever her dissertation or whatever was like based on like intersectionality, discrimination, and bias of overweight people or fat people. And
that's
so, okay,
I mean, that's a
fine.
legitimate area of inquiry. I mean, really.
Like, fine. Okay, fine.
I mean, there's been countless studies about like how fat people are discriminated against.
Sure.
I mean, like Chris Christie felt that he could not run for president, never mind the fact that because he was a shitty governor, but like he felt like he could run for president unless he lost a whole lot of weight. And I think he did have gastric bypass in an effort to do that.
Mike Pompeo just lost a ton of weight. That's why it prompted people to wonder if he was actually going to run, because Pompeo lost. Yeah,
people don't think that the days of Taft are over, right? Like can't.
Well, but again, that's not the conversation. That's not the conversation. This woman that you're looking at here, her name is Virgie Tovar. So presumably her name's Virginia, but she goes by Virgie Tovar, and she is there to consult with the Department of Health in San Francisco about, how to be more, for a lack of better phrase, turn of phrase is fat friendly.
Well, I think that's a pretty fucking good idea, don't you? I mean, if you're trying to get people to, let's just say for the sake of argument, you're the commissioner of health you're the commissioner of health, and you're trying to reach out to people who are overweight, and you're trying to get them to do this, that, and the other, or stop doing this, that, and the other. And you're like, you have someone at the table who's like, well, this message that you're saying is going to turn off overweight people.
That's fair.
You might want to try different wording, different approach, different video.
But that's not what she's saying. Here's the thing. That's why I said hold this thought, because I dug into her when what did I say? Held what?
Hold that.
Oh,
thought.
You said held. Yeah, I said hold that thought. So I dug into who this woman was while I was recovering from pneumonia last month, and I saw many, many videos of her talking about the joy of eating and how and I'm paraphrasing everything here, but she basically says for her, eating is happiness. Like that's her happiness. And that if she wants she's going to slather, but she says she's going to slather all the butter, whole fucking stick of butter.
She's maybe part French. I love to eat.
Oh, I love butter and all. I mean, if you're eating real butter,
good
if it's
food,
real.
I mean, nothing like it.
She's talking about the joy of
drinking,
of donuts
and food,
and just like
music, best things in life.
She's talking about the joy of eating like junk food, that it makes her happy, and that you should like.
It's programmed to make people happy. It's developed by science to make people happy.
What she's gonna run into, I mean, she's only 42, so she's getting to that middle age time where she's going to have a reckoning in her health, carrying all that extra weight, and then passing along this message that it's okay to sit around eating fucking Cheetos all day and
I
eating
don't think
Krispy
that's what she
Kreme
said.
all
Is
day.
that what she
No,
said?
no. If you go look at her social media, it might be cleaned off by now because, you know, she picked up this job. But there are video, I mean, interwebs are forever. She has basically not only, she has kind of skinny shamed people like me and assumes that people like me are, you know, gagging ourselves. So we, you know, we're restricting our diets, we're calorie counting, we're this, we're that. She's also done the flip side of this where she's skinny shaming. I don't watch what I eat. I really don't. I indulge. If I want to have Krispy Kreme, I'll go get a Krispy Kreme. But for the most part, I'm on like I'm not on a diet. I just have figured out what works for my body with given my health complications with like lupus and then, you know, like just all this other stuff, that eating more meat is better for me, and balancing that out with vegetables and all. And I do love, people know I do love me a mango, Ted, a good mango. And that's hard to find, a good mango. But you know, I'm a brown Asian lady. I, you know, my DNA comes from equatorial lands with like jungles. I want to eat those things. I want to eat like bananas and mangoes, and those happen to be very healthy things. That's instead of, you know, instead of, don't get me wrong, I love me some cheesecake, especially the French mousse style cheesecake. Oh, it's delicious.
New
or
York
like a creme
cheesecake.
brulee.
New York cheesecake
really?
or die.
Really? You like Juniors, huh?
Yeah, Juniors is not. It's okay. It's not the best.
I like the French. I like the fluffier French. I like creme brulee.
Do you like the Italian cheesecake, the ricotta cheesecake?
It's okay. I mean, I like all cheesecake, but
yeah, it's cheesecake. It's cake and cheese together.
I like cheesecake, but generally, I'll take creme brulee over cheesecake. But generally speaking, like I don't know if it's programming from my family. I don't know if it's genetic programming, but I get cravings for fruit as a dessert. And maybe it's an Asian culture thing because that's very common, right? In Asian culture that you eat fruit. That's
part of the problem is our fruit sucks.
But our fruit in America sucks.
So I mean, you know, and it is when you travel, like seriously, you get like you mentioned bananas. Get bananas, and I mean, they don't taste that great here. Tomatoes taste like cardboard here. You know, it's if you know, there's just no doubt. Like when you get really fresh fruits and vegetables, it's a whole different ball game, and you can develop a craving for them for sure. It's all about context. I mean, it's not like people are
quality
pigs.
of food.
There's just not. We come back to that.
Yeah, and that is the big problem here. And I really do hope this guy gets his confirmation and that there is some change here in the Department of Agriculture, because it has been a captured agency, like we were saying, for the past at least easily 50 years. And it's just, we're creating a nation of people that, I get it. It feels good to say it's inclusive and whatever, that I have very large people that are, you know, like extended family to me. I'm not bothered by somebody's size. I want them to be healthy, of course. I'm not, size doesn't bother me, just like they're not bothered with me being a little skinny mini. We're not bothered by that. But I do, because I do know them. I know that they do eat healthy, and oftentimes healthier than I do. Right. And like you said, Ted, no matter what, they've remained large people. But that is not what this woman is promoting or has promulgated on her social media in the past, up until more recently, where she's gotten an official gig with the city of San Francisco, because as if they don't have other shit to worry about in San Francisco. Really? This is what you want to fucking worry about, is having everybody feel good about weight inclusivity? San Francisco, you're running your town in the red, and you have crackheads all over the sidewalks. Children are stepping on needles when they, you know, walk to school. And so this is what you want to care about, is inclusivity?
Look, you're right about that.
What a first world problem.
San Francisco is a fucking shithole. But also, I've got to be fair here. as you know, as my ex-wife who is from California never ceased to remind me, California is always ahead of the curve when it comes to social and legal change. Like, for example, better fuel economy standards in automobiles, all sorts of things that it's often the cutting edge of change in the United States. So the city of San Francisco is the most liberal city in the state. So it might be like, well, we're going to be the point of this. We're the point of the spear here. We're going to lead the charge and try to do this right. I don't know. I mean, I guess I'm on the fence here. I feel like of all the things that the city of San Francisco wasted some money on, this is probably not the worst one. I'm in a wait and see mode. Let's see how it goes. Give the lady a chance. I like her sign there that you're showing. I don't want Ozempic. I don't want Ozempic either.
I don't want it either, so I'm down with that. But I have to wonder if her doctors wanted to prescribe her Ozempic because she might actually be one of those people that could really use the help from Ozempic.
Or because her doctors are in the pockets of big pharma.
That could be that too. And it's not fair that we should, that she needs to even be suspect of this, right? Like suspect of her doctor prescribing her on this lifetime of medicine. But instead, like I said, Ted, because I've looked into this lady, she is not promoting body, like love every body. Whoops. She is not promoting that. She's promoting eat whatever the fuck you want. And if you're fat, so be it. The world has to love you. And I get that message. The latter part of her message of, the world needs to accept you no matter what size you are. Yeah. I agree. 100%.
Right.
But the former, eat whatever the fuck you want, be as unhealthy on the inside as you want. That part I do not agree with. Like that is how you do end up on a lifetime supply of Ozempic or other, like cholesterol drugs, or you end up with fatty liver, and you end up with a series of other health issues. There's cancers that are like attached to being overweight. Like
That's
for
true.
you, like you said, there's breathing problems. There's every kind of health problem. COVID killed, guess what? Overweight people. Like
That's
heavy,
true.
very old people and very overweight people and people with comorbidities.
That's
so true. When you talk about body positivity, you need to talk about the the underlying part is, well, are you also healthy? I'm pro body positivity, whether you're a skinny flat-chested little girl in California or a big overweight girl like she was. I've seen her TED Talk. This woman has showed photos of herself when she was a little girl. So she's been a heavy little girl her whole life.
Mm-hmm.
So whether you looked like her growing up or you were skinny mini like me growing up, I think every body should be accepted and no one should shame anybody for whatever their shape is. But the concern here is making good choices, a personal choice, personal choices, number one. And then secondarily, the government giving us shit choices for us to choose from and poisoning us even when we do make good choices, because even the organic stuff isn't really organic, which is why he calls himself the lunatic farmer. And I got to spend some time with, let me actually grab his video so people can see. Joel Salatin, who is going to be presumably, he says he's going to be an advisor to the Department of Agriculture. He actually owns a local farm here in Virginia, but he talks about, animals grazing, like his animals are actually out. Like they're non-GMO, he's amazing. I've watched many of his speeches. This guy knows what he's talking about. He's, it's a family farm, like 4 generations or whatever. He knows what he's talking about. And when he reveals how the US government basically ties the hands of farmers like him and tries to push you into buying stuff that's mass manufactured by like General Mills, you know, or whatever, Smithfield, which is Chinese owned. There, you know, like I said, our options are very limited, especially when you go to like food desert areas. Like, I don't know, you name any poor town in, I don't know, say Arkansas. There's food deserts there. You go, like there's not healthy options. But small farmers could be the answer to that, and government bureaucracy and policy has gotten in the way of people having access to actual clean, healthy food, especially direct to farm. Farm to table. You can do that somehow with a restaurant, but you can't do that to your own kitchen. And he talks about that in many of his videos that he's put out. And he's absolutely right. And people, the U.S. government has been in the way for the past 50 years of allowing our population to have access to healthy food. They want us to buy the shit at the grocery store. They want us to buy the Smithfield bacon instead of going to a guy like Joel here and buying your raw bacon. There's all this talk. I mean, and now it's become like a left-right divide, Ted. San Francisco being a liberal city, what do the liberals say now about being fat and drinking Coca-Cola all day and whatever? What do the liberals say? It's racist. You're racist. You're racist, Ted, if you criticize somebody for drinking Coke all day because
I don't think I should criticize people for their individual choices that are being foisted upon them by big food and like Madison Avenue and propaganda. They're not the problem. The system is the problem. They're victims of the system. Why am I going to yell at the victims?
There's some of that. I
agree.
I agree with some of that. Again, it goes down to access. What kind of access do these people have to, but then also you have to make those personal, individual healthy choices. So how did the left, where I grew up in the 80s and 90s with hippie teachers, literally my teachers were hippies, in their young days. And I'm all like yogi and understanding like eating healthy and grounding your feet on earth, on the earth, on soil, like grounding, taking the energy from the sun, grounding your feet on soil. How did that go from being a left paradigm, a left-leaning, progressive type mentality in California, to that now becoming racist and elitist and classist, and now becoming a conservative talking point? It's literally conservatives are talking about that now. The Republicans are talking about that.
No, it is like we're seeing political realignments on all sorts of issues, and this is one of them for sure. I think we should leave that probably there though. And
yeah, this I could talk obviously about this forever and ever. Like, this is just shocking to me. This is local news back home in California. Look at the obesity rates as they changed year by year.
Oh, I thought that was a climate change map.
No, this is obesity rates changing year by year. By year. So part of it is personal choice, Ted, and part of it is access to clean and healthy food, which our government has failed us tremendously, and and these people in white lab coats, they're failing us too, because their industry has also been captured, and they're also not helping us. So it's the whole like
the great psycho of life. All right, let's leave that there. Take us out.
All right. We gotta go. We've been rambling on, but I'm looking forward to an RFK coming in and cleaning house at the Department of Agriculture and letting farmers farm and letting consumers consume healthy, like make good choices. So, all right, that's gonna do it for us. Thank you guys, as always, for tuning in. We have our hardcore regulars over there on Rumble and a handful of new regulars on YouTube. So that's really heartening. I love seeing that. And hopefully we're going to start seeing some more regulars on X, on Twitter. Yeah. Is it called Spaces, or like if it's video, it's something else? I'm not.
I don't know.
It's our first. Yeah, it's our first. So I don't know. We're going to figure that out. But again, please do hit that subscribe button, the follow, the thumbs up. It'll really help the algorithms recognize us and then help us to get monetized so we can, start making some money from this, because this is our only job. Ted and I, if you are not familiar with us, we're laid off because, Biden censorship, that whole thing. You can look it up and you'll understand what I'm talking about. So it would really help us tremendously if you are in any financial position to help us become a $5 a month subscriber on Rumble, and we have locals and all of that. That would really help us out. But at the very least, hit the subscribe button so that way we can get monetized. That's because people really do make a living, doing content creation like this on Twitter, on whatever, by being monetized. So you can help us out that easy. If you're enjoying what you're seeing, what you're hearing, we are fully independent. So we do need your participation to keep us up and running and make this our gig. So with that, TMI show, Manila Chan, Ted Rall, thank you very much. We are out of here. We're back tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern time. Thank you, guys. Have a good hump day. Happy hump day.
Bye, everyone.
Adios.